Whether you're looking to beef up your books I read this year list, or you're just in a reading slump and need something to kickstart you back into reading, these 5 books are for you. Hello and welcome back to the Looking Glass World. My name is Aradhana Mathews, and the 5 books that I've got for you today are books that you can read in under 24 hours. And I have to say the 5th one that I have for you today is something that I found completely by chance, but I really enjoyed it. So if you're ready, let's go. So the first book that I have on this list of 5 books you can finish in a day or less is mine, and it's called Maintenance, and there's a reason I have put this on this list, and that's because look at it. It's so small. If you've got, I'll tell you what it's perfect for. If you've got a 2-hour flight to catch and you don't know what to do and how to spend your time, I got you. You can finish it in one shot. Or if you're having a slow time reading and you're feeling distracted, then you have the return flight also, and I can promise you by then it will be done. Also, this book is apocalyptic science fiction, so it's definitely fast-paced and engaging and action-packed, so it's something you don't really have to spend a lot of effort to try and get through. Also, it's extremely small, so that shouldn't be a problem anyway. So to give you a sense of the story, Maintenance is set way in the future, but features a certain theme that is universal today, which is our almost dangerous levels of dependence on technology. So imagine everything that we have right now, but multiplied by 100 to the point where there is no such thing as an offline existence. So there are no offline stores. People don't go to an office to work. Everything happens digitally on a metaverse called Arcadia. So for example, you wouldn't go to the office. You would log into Arcadia and take your character to the office space that you have within Arcadia. Architects aren't designing buildings in the real world, they're designing buildings in Arcadia. And influencers are not influencing you in the real world, they're influencing what your character should wear, the things that they should do inside Arcadia. So within this world, we look at the story of 2 brothers. So the elder brother is someone who struggles with holding a job, tends to fall into very risk-taking behaviors, and constantly puts himself and his younger brother in danger. So as a result, the younger brother has had to sort of become the responsible one and take care of both of them and work really hard to support his older brother as well. Now, a story sort of kicks off at a point where the older brother has gotten himself into a really bad spot of trouble, to the point where it could threaten his life and his brother's life. So he does one kind of last shot attempt to win it all back and save himself. But just as he's reaching that climactic moment, something happens that has not happened in over 100 years. Arcadia crashes. In a world that is so completely dependent on a digital interface, what happens when this fails? The answer is the world quite literally starts to crumble. And now these 2 brothers find themselves having to navigate that chaos and that terror and actually find a way to survive. So you get all this in less than 70 pages. 71 pages. But I'd say very quick read, definitely something to kickstart you back if you're in a reading slump or you want to read more. So the second book that I've picked for you that you can finish in a day or less is called Before the Coffee Gets Cold. Obviously, this is bigger than my novella, and I will say that size aside, this is also something that I would recommend to a more seasoned reader, because it's definitely a very beautifully written but somewhat more nuanced read. So to give you a sense, the entire book takes place in one location, and the plot is primarily advanced through dialogue. So the setting of the book is a cafe, but there's something special about this cafe. So within the cafe, you can actually travel through time. And of course, this caused a huge commotion when people first found out, but then they found out the rules. So the rules for traveling through time in this cafe is, number 1, you can only travel within the cafe. So you can't step out of the cafe, you can't even step out of your seat. So you have to sit in that same spot, and you'll only be in the cafe at a different point of time. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is that you can only meet somebody who was also in the cafe at the point that you're traveling to. So you can't meet anybody unless they were in that cafe at that moment that you're traveling to in time. And number 3 is you only can stay in that time until your cup of coffee gets cold. So at most, you get a few minutes and then you have to return to the present. So naturally, when people found out about these rules, it kind of dampened the whole enthusiasm and most people stopped coming. But this book is about a few protagonists who chose to travel through time anyway. And this is where the story becomes so powerful because the setting is quite simplistic if you look at it. But these stories that are told through the protagonists who travel through time are very, very deeply human and very moving stories. So it's not like your Marvel Universe time travel where there's like Spider-Man and then another Spider-Man and then all these things happening and it's all action all the time. No, it's not like that. So the sense that I get from this kind of time travel is it's almost like being able to visit a moment in your past and just stretching it out for a couple more minutes. That's it. Now, that may not seem like much, but to a pair of sisters who were tragically separated, or to a mother who may never meet her daughter, or to lovers who must part and wonder if they'll ever see each other again, these couple of extra minutes make all the difference in the world. And that's what makes this such a beautiful read. The third book that I have chosen for you that you can finish in under a day is something that I think many of us have heard. It's almost like a household name of a book, and that is Jonathan Livingston's Seagull. So for those of you who aren't familiar with this book, it's very, very simple. I mean, you can see that there's a lot of photography, a lot of pictures. The story is also very simple and easy to follow, but has a lot of emotional depth as well. So it's about one particular seagull who has a dream to fly higher, further than ever before, but it doesn't sit well with his flock, who wants him to follow a more conventional path. So Jonathan has to navigate this world of whether or not he should follow his dream at the risk of sacrificing literally everything else, and whether that choice is worth it in the end. So ultimately, very emotionally moving, very powerful, simple read, but beautiful. And of course, the photography only adds to the reading experience. And it's definitely something that you can go through very quickly, but will remain with you in your memory for a long time afterwards. So the fourth book that I have for you today is called Persepolis, and it's actually a graphic novel. And I picked this up after Emma Watson recommended it, and it's a very good read. So graphic novel obviously means minimal text, largely visual storytelling, but the story is very layered and very emotionally sort of complex. It makes you ask questions. So I honestly feel like I can't just chat with you and give you a sense of what the book is about. So I'm going to read a little bit from the review that I wrote on my Instagram page, which goes like this. A young girl narrates the events of a childhood spent in a turbulent Iran. She shares her experience of a king being overthrown, the rise of fascism under Islamic extremists, a rapid descent into forced repression, and an unrelenting series of wars and conflicts. The protagonist's parents are liberals and fight hard for their freedom and rights. They are good people, loving and caring, yet they find themselves involved inevitably in violent conflicts, clashes with authority, prejudice and discrimination, leaving the young narrator struggling to understand the concept of morality. What is good and evil? When is violence acceptable? What is true equality? How can law enforcement torture ordinary people with such careless abandon? And why do women have to wear the veil? Though a quick read, Persepolis will leave you needing a moment to reflect upon this little girl's story, beneath which lies one unspoken question. What is worth fighting for? And all this you get through, again, fairly simplistic illustrations, simple, easy to follow dialogue, but it's a very thought-provoking read. And now we come to the final book in my top 5 choices of books that you can read in under 24 hours. And this one I found completely by chance, and it's called The Aunt Who Wouldn't Die. What I love about it is it's essentially everything that you get from a typical Gothic European story, but set in a Bengali background. So the book was originally written in Bangla, but translated to English by Arunava Sinha. And it features, as in typical Gothic style, a young woman who enters an aristocratic Bengali family through marriage, but something is off. And as the story progresses, not only does she learn that they have secrets and, everything that's the house is hiding, but she also has to confront a very disturbing phenomenon, which is the death of one of the aunts in the family. And while the rest of the family mourns this aunt, suddenly our protagonist can't seem to stop seeing and hearing her. So this then triggers a whole series of events which involve our protagonist trying to figure out not only her place within this family, but also in society, exploring things like class and gender dynamics, but all through classic Gothic tropes. And I found it amazing. I really enjoyed reading this book and I would recommend it to everyone. It is fascinating and it's so creative. But yeah, that's all we have for today. I hope you enjoyed my recommendations and do check some of them out because all of these are quick reads and I definitely want to get people reading more. So these are probably the perfect things to start with. I'll link all the books in the description. But if you want to read more short stories and interesting articles, you can head to my website at aradhanamatthews.com and join my Instagram community at The Looking Glass World. Make sure you like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.